Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse and I am back for another channel update and assorted topics video. And we've got a lot to cover this time, so we're just going to kind of dive right into it. I thought about doing one of these videos in August a couple of times, but really, I mean, yeah, there were things that happened, there were things that came up, but nothing really too earth-shattering or anything that I really felt I needed to talk about. But there is so much stuff potentially coming up or coming out or happening in September that I figured, you know what, September 1st, I can't believe it's September, by the way. Um, I mean, God, the summer is just, you blink and it's gone. Um, but there's so much happening that I figure, you know what, let's do one of these channel update and just, like, again, assorted topic videos because there's a lot going to happen. So as I start these usually start these videos, for everyone that has been supporting my work, whether through the channel or Twitch streams or Twitter or whatever, again, thank you to everyone who has been supporting the channel and my work, whether it's been for a long time or you just found the channel, you're new to everything right now. Much appreciated. Um, I do, if you are new to the channel, I do unlock content every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Mondays are typically reserved for Twitch stream archives. We got a few more of those because I haven't been streaming the last month or so. Been on a hiatus on that for a little while. But Mondays are Twitch stream archives. And then Wednesdays and Saturdays is kind of everything else. And if you look up in the playlists there, we've got everything is kind of divided into playlists. We've got low vision spotlights, which are games where they're mainstream games I use my vision to play. If you have some usable vision, the games might be playable for you. iOS or PC accessible game spotlight videos. Those are games, of course, that can be played by a totally blind player. Um, it's right in the name, so if you're wondering if a game is blind friendly or low vision friendly, it's right in the name of the video. Blind or accessible game spotlight or low vision spotlight. Um, but we've got hardware reviews, we've got VR accessibility, some VR apps and games and experiences and things like that. Some geeky stuff here and there, a couple Let's Plays. But there's just a variety of stuff. So check out the playlist section, and hopefully you'll find something of interest for you there. So yeah, on to the channel itself. Recent content, recent videos. Like I said, everything has been pretty busy. I've covered a few accessible games here and there, a couple iOS accessible games. We had the Quake Remastered that recently released. It isn't blind accessible, but if you're a low vision user, they've added some really nice menu and low vision features to that game. So check that video out. I did a recent hardware or assistive technology review for the recently released, or it's kind of gradually releasing in various states, the NLS Braille e-reader that NLS patrons, Bard patrons, may be eligible for. So I got my hands on one of those recently. Did a hardware review for that. Definitely check that out if that is a device you're interested in. And I want to draw your attention to another recent video that I did just yesterday. This is a PC accessible game, and it is a mainstream game through Steam called Lost and Hound. You play as this little dog, and you're kind of helping people out. You got all kinds of different levels and scenarios, and like you're helping anywhere from like rescuing people in a storm or working, kind of doing a little bit of work in a hospital or an airport, or there's just been a lot of different a lot of interesting variety and tasks that you do. The navigation can be a little bit tricky in some areas, and once you get the hang of it, it's actually not too bad. And the creator is still even working, the developer is still working on even kind of tweaking up and updating things based on feedback. And I've kind of been working with him off and on. I've checked out the beta or the demo back in the day. I've chatted with him a little bit, in the past as well. So yeah, I mean, he seems really receptive to making the game as accessible as it can be for blind and low vision users. I gave a few suggestions in the recent video, and he actually did reply to me on Twitter last night, and he watched it and says, "Oh, you gave me some good ideas." So there will be more updates to come for Lost and Hound. So check that out. Upcoming things, boy, are there upcoming things? There's a lot. We'll tackle some upcoming releases and videos I want to do first. I do have a Steam Deck. I've tweeted about it a few different times on Twitter, just some general observations and initial impressions. I didn't want to do a review right away because I really wanted to give it some time, give it a couple weeks for me to really play some games with it, try some things, and see what I come up with. And I have not recorded a video for it yet, but I do want to record a hardware review or both kind of a hardware review and an accessibility review of the Steam Deck. Spoiler warning, there are no accessibility features whatsoever on the Steam Deck, so if you are totally blind, you're going to need some sighted assistance to get into a game, unfortunately. I'll have a lot more to say on it during the review, but that is a very big disappointment. As a low vision user, you may or may not be able to use it. And it kind of depends on a game by game basis as well. Like, you can kind of memorize where certain things are in the interface and things like that. But then when you get into the game, you're playing on like a 7-inch screen. So it really depends on the game, how detailed it is, or if there's a lot of text involved as to whether you are able to play a game on a device like that. Same as like the Nintendo Switch. So if you are low vision, it may or may not be a device that you will be interested in. So I'm hoping to do a video for that in the next probably week or so, week and a half or so, hopefully. So there's that. Tomorrow, September 2nd, there's a little game on the PlayStation 5 that is coming out called The Last of Us Part 1. And yes, it is a remake or remaster, whatever you want to call it. They did the PS3 version, it got kind of updated for the PS4, and now it is coming to the PlayStation 5. And I know a lot of mainstream sites are just crapping all over this game. They're like, why are they wasting resources? Make something new. You've already released this twice. Why remake the game yet again? Oh yeah, the graphics are prettier. Big deal. No, I mean, yes, the graphics are better. Even from the footage I've seen so far, the graphics are better, sure, and they've added some extra, haptic feedback for the DualSense. They've added some, audio improvements, all that kind of stuff. Your typical, oh, it's a new system, you get your audio, video, gameplay tweaks and upgrades, sure. But, and I wanted to see what mainstream sites would say about The Last of Us Part 1, this new version. And very few that I've watched so far, because I watched a few YouTube videos like IGN and there's been 3 or 4 of them that I've just kind of looked at that I follow. I'm like, well, what do they say? Do they acknowledge accessibility? Most of them are really just complaining about, oh, it's a $70 game. They've released it for the 3rd time. If you've never played it before, yeah, it's a great game. It's an excellent game. Definitely, this is the best version to buy of it. But for everyone else, it's kind of a waste of time. And I would argue that is not, I mean, most people say, oh, well, they didn't put hardly any effort into it. And I say that's way wrong. I mean, that is just completely not right at all. The Last of Us Part 1, even the PlayStation 4 version, was based on its old engine, gaming engine that they used. When they made The Last of Us 2, they did an all-new engine, and they did this little thing of adding accessibility into the game from the beginning. They didn't try to bolt it on later. They actually integrated accessibility in from the early stages of development. And gee, because of that, there were over 60 accessibility features in the game. Not only that, it was really one of the first AAA games, especially like an action semi-open world, like just like an action adventure type game, AAA that was totally blind accessible. I mean, I haven't, I beat it like within the first weekend it was out because I was just enthralled. I was addicted. I was hooked to that game. I personally know other totally blind players who have not only beaten it but have beaten it on the hardest difficulty setting, and that's awesome. So, everyone's like, well, why didn't they just add accessibility to the previous version of The Last of Us 1 like they did The Last of Us 2 and not charge us $70 for it? Well, the reason is because the engine that they use for The Last of Us Part 1 doesn't support a lot of the things that they did with The Last of Us 2 engine, so they couldn't just, it's not like let's just slap copy and paste accessibility features, done. That's not how gaming development works. And so many people don't seem to understand that, whether you're, I mean, even the stuff that the mainstream sighted community complains about. It's like, well, why didn't they just put it on the old version? Because what they're doing is really only supported in the new version of their engine. So, yes, I can confirm The Last of Us Part 1 is coming out tomorrow, and it not only has the accessibility features of The Last of Us 2, but it has even a few more. One in particular, I think a lot of blind and visually impaired players are going to like: audio description for cutscenes. So yeah, they did a little preview video of it a few weeks ago. But yeah, audio description for cutscenes, that's awesome. Definitely the first AAA game to really even offer such a thing. We've seen some game trailers with audio description in the last year and a half or so. But this is the first AAA game that's really added that for cutscenes. I say AAA because The Last of Us is not the first game to have audio description. I believe that honor would go to Sequence Storm. Their story mode actually included that for its animations and cutscenes during that story mode. I knew that the game supported, menu narration and text to speech in the audio game mode, but I didn't even know that it did that until I was streaming it and I was playing story mode, and I'm like, wait a minute. Is it describing the pictures and animations in this story scene? And it was. So yeah, like I said, it's really disappointing to just see so many mainstream press not even acknowledge it. Not, just like, oh, well, it's just another cash grab. They're overcharging for it. There's nothing new. Don't waste your time. They're mad at Naughty Dog because it's just, oh, you're just re-releasing the same time for another cash grab. You didn't do any effort to it other than a few more prettier graphics. And like again, I would definitely disagree with that. I've seen maybe one or two places, at least they don't go into it very deeply, but at least they'll acknowledge it maybe with a couple, 2, 3 sentences that, oh, this game features a lot of accessibility features in it. And that's definitely a thing that the original versions didn't have. Yay. Good for them. Poor people with disabilities can play video games. That's kind of the approach that they have taken. But I was pleasantly surprised. One of the people that I follow who covers a lot of first-person shooters and stuff like that. There's a few people that cover those that I follow, things like Civ 11 or G-Man. G-Man Lives. If you're into those types of games, you probably know both of those channels. But G-Man Lives did a video for The Last of Us 2, and he at least acknowledged that the accessibility features were there and didn't really poo-poo them. He's like, hey, I mean, actually, it was kind of funny that he's like, yeah, and it's great that more people can play and be miserable just like the rest of us, because like the story is such a down. It's a great story, but this, if you know from The Last of Us 2, these are not happy-go-lucky games. They are brutal in their stories, and so it's like, oh yeah, well now people with disabilities can be just as miserable as we are after playing it, because we've gone through hell basically. And I kind of had to laugh because it's like, well, you're not wrong. I mean, there's a scene early in the game that, basically the prologue of the game, that it's a really, really well done. But oh boy, having to play through that again is going to be a little rough. Because yeah, it's really brutal. And for anyone who has seen the game or played the game, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, so The Last of Us Part One, PlayStation 5, coming out September 2nd. Now you can start and you can play the series so far from start to finish. The Last of Us 1 up through the end of The Last of Us 2. Which is awesome, because that was the thing. It's like, well, yeah, we can play The Last of Us 2, but people before would have to watch the YouTube video or whatever to know where the story was from that before The Last of Us 2. And now it's all accessible. So excellent. And I just wish people would stop shitting all over the game and Naughty Dog, because they see it as just a cheap cash in, and it is not. I mean, one of the other things I think that it's not really for blind users. I won't I won't necessarily need it, but I think it's actually ingenious, and I never would have thought of. I tweeted this too, where they're adding another accessibility feature to the game where um, they're using the haptic feedback of the DualSense controller to work in conjunction with subtitles and captions, where when characters are speaking, you'll see the dialogue on screen, but if you have the haptic dialogue feature turned on, it's supposed to like kind of rumble or vibrate, um, kind of the way that the character is speaking, so that people can get some of the voice tone and, like, how the characters are speaking. Maybe somebody's yelling and angry, or they're whispering because they're trying not to get heard. Or even, I don't know how detailed it gets, but I mean, I don't know if it maybe even tries to go for like, you know, if you can hear, like, you can say a sentence two, three different ways, and it can be interpreted totally differently. The same words, but just the way you speak it can be, said in many different ways. I can say it straightforward, like I'm giving you information. I can say it sarcastically, like, "Oh yeah, that worked really well," or "Yeah, that worked really well." I mean, that alone, if you can't hear, you're not necessarily going to pick up on that until you get more context. And that's why written communication, even, people talk about, writing clearly for emails and stuff, is so important. Punctuation, people. But yeah, I mean, I never would have even thought to use the haptic feedback in that way, but I think it's brilliant. I think it's really cool, and I hope that it does help. I'd be curious to see what a deaf or hard of hearing player makes of that mode, of that feature, because like I said, I think it sounds really fascinating what they're doing. Just like how haptics can work for blind people to indicate things in the environment, or like, in a racing game, or other cues. So I've rattled on long enough about The Last of Us. There's way more things happening this month. So we need to move on, but I will be covering the game. I did not get a pre-release code, so just like everybody else, I bought the game, and I will be covering it after launch. I already bought it. I've already downloaded it. I'm just waiting for tomorrow for it to unlock, and then I can play it. So I'm hoping that sometime next week I will be able to get the video out for that. I have a video already in mind for Saturday that I want to do. I'm thinking if I can get it recorded in time, even though Mondays are typically stream archives, I might try to make it Monday's video just because, again, The Last of Us is such a huge game, landmark game for what it's doing in accessibility that, we can push a stream archive back and put that out. Otherwise, I'm thinking it might be Wednesday. So hopefully, if my technology behaves itself, I will be able to um, play it and then cover it on the channel in the next week or so. Moving on from The Last of Us 2, we have another game that I'm really anticipating, Metal Hellsinger. I did a demo video for that. I was bad at it, but I loved it. The full game is going to have difficulty options and hopefully some other settings. We'll see what it offers, but um, a rhythm-based first-person shooter set to real-life metal musicians' music. Heck yeah! I mean, these are well-known people in the metal genre, and they even did a concert last week for what is the conference? I just went stupid. Um, Not GDC. Gamescom. Thank you. There we go. Gamescom. But yeah, and it was really neat. But a rhythm first person shooter, really looking forward to trying that out. And the funny thing is, like, we had bullets per minute like last year or early this year. I really wanted to like it. I liked aspects of it, but it just really didn't click with me the way I wanted it to. Metal Hellsinger looks just amazing. And I even heard about another one. I forget what it's called, Gun something. But somebody else is doing another rhythm-based shooter, but it's more like EDM music. So if you're more into like the EDM scene versus metal, yeah, there's apparently going to be like this is becoming another subgenre of first-person shooter apparently. So hey, why not? But I'm looking forward to that. The video that I'm hoping to record for Saturday, I want to cover. I want to do a low vision spotlight video for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. We already got this year's been so good to Turtles fans. We've got the Shredder's Revenge, which I did a video for. And now we get the Cowabunga collection. I've talked about it before, but we have 13 classic Turtles games on various platforms. And I've played a little bit of it the last couple of days, and it is a fantastic collection. Yeah, you probably need some vision to be able to play it. But if you grew up playing these games like I did, or just love the Turtles, or just want like a solid game experience, even if you are interested in like, a lot of a lot of people when they make these retro collections and stuff, they like hear the games, maybe a couple a paragraph or something about them, maybe soundtrack files, and that's about it. There's so much. I mean, this is going to be a long spotlight video because there's just all the games to cover, but the amount of effort that Digital Eclipse went through to make this collection is just amazing. Like there's the games, there's extra settings that weren't in the games originally. There's the soundtrack, there's art, there's concept art, manuals. They made literally new little strategy guide things that are kind of interactive, have interactable like with videos in them to show you how to do things in each game. There's like production documents that no one has ever seen before. Like when they were making the games originally, they've even translated them into English because originally, Konami, they're Japanese developers, so they even translated the text so we knew what they were saying in these documents. I mean, it's just incredible. Um, as a Turtles fan, I couldn't be happier with the way this turned out. So that is hopefully going to be Saturday's video. Um, and there's just so many other things. Like I found out there's a sequel to Horizon Chase that is coming out sometime this month. We have, I don't know, I mean, there's just other games that are coming out in the next, like, even couple months. There's just quite a few, couple AAA, but a lot of indie games I'm really looking forward to, and I'm totally fine with that. Aside from games and technology coming out, well, we have technology. We have a lot of events happening in the next couple of months. So, um, we have Apple's fall event where they're gonna they're gonna unveil their new iPhone, probably a new Apple Watch. Not sure about iPads or whatever, but their typical fall September event that is going to be on the 7th. I have I have a really new iPad. I have a new iPhone. So unless there's something really miraculous, this is more than likely not going to be an upgrade year for me. Apple Watch, maybe. I'm still running a Series 4. There really hasn't been any really compelling reason for me to want to upgrade to a new watch since the 4. If I do decide to upgrade, I'm going to more than likely drop the cellular model and just get the regular Wi-Fi model or whatever, GPS model they call it. Because a lot of what they were originally, when I was originally hoping and thinking that the cellular version would allow me to do, not just make calls, but like stream things and maybe use my cellular for like GPS streaming or any number of things. It just really didn't pan out. And like the longer we've gone on, third party apps, at least from what I can tell, there's just not the excitement. There's not a lot of apps have even like disappeared. They started and then they're just no longer available or just aren't really supported that well anymore. So I'm like, I like having a smartwatch. I do use it for certain things, but I think I can save a few bucks off my monthly phone bill if I get rid of the cellular component. So whenever I do upgrade my Apple Watch, I will more than likely go back and just do the basic model. Um, I don't know if I'm going to do, I've done Apple event videos in the past. It depends how much they announce. If anything, I might, like, unless they do like a lot of stuff that I feel like I have to talk about, maybe I'll do one. But what I might do is I might save my thoughts on that for a later video because there are other events happening this month. There is Realms Deep is happening. Literally, I believe yesterday they announced it on Twitter, and it's going to be on Friday the 16th. And of course, Realms Deep is really not exclusively, but geared mainly towards like retro style first person shooters. And as you well know, if you follow the channel for any length of time, that is definitely my jam. So I will absolutely be glued to that on that Friday. So maybe I'll give my thoughts on that, on some of the announcements for there, maybe talk about Apple, maybe combine it into one video. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll wing it depending on what is announced and whatever. Another event that might happen, there's been talk about a lot of buzz in the last couple of days about possibly a September Nintendo Direct. And this could be a big one. This could be not an indie direct or like a a specific game direct, like they had one for Splatoon last month. So the rumor or the going theory right now is that it's going to be a big Nintendo event, and they are going to focus it a lot around Zelda. So maybe we'll finally get a release date for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't know. My guess would be 2023 at some point. But they're also rumoring that we're going to get um, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD Zeldas finally on the Switch. Both of these originally did come out on the Wii, but like maybe 18 people in the world owned a Nintendo or owned a Wii U, and I'm one of them. Um, I mean, I know more than that, but not many people bought a Wii U. And as I've said before, I would love to have both of those on this, especially Wind Waker. Uh, I I loved Wind Waker, and I think God, with that really nice, bright, cartoony art style, that would look fantastic on the OLED Switch. So yes, please, if they announce that, that would be great. Now they're also speculating that maybe they'll finally also put out a Metroid Prime trilogy collection, with Metroid Prime 4 coming out God knows when. It what is it? Metroid's what is it? 30th anniversary or 35th or some freaking thing? I can't even remember how old it is, but I'm old because I remember when the first Metroid came out. But anyway, supposedly that's been in the works for a while and they've kind of been sitting on it, so I would like to believe all these things are going to happen. But there's no confirmation of a Nintendo Direct yet, but there could be. And even if there is a Direct, like as good news as that would be, as I said on Twitter yesterday, I'm like, as much as I would love all this to be true, it's Nintendo and they're Nintendo, so they will just be weird and do what Nintendo does or doesn't do. And I mean, like I said, the Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, I could see that happening because the games are already made. They basically just have to be ported from the Wii U to the Switch. That I could see easily happening, just like they did the Mario collection a year or two ago. Um, Metroid Prime could also be possible, but like I said, I don't know. I'm not getting excited. I'm not getting hopeful because Nintendo is notorious for I mean, the difference between what Nintendo fans want and what Nintendo gives them a lot of times is very different. Because again, look at their virtual consoles of systems past. Look at their Switch Online. Yeah, there's some great stuff. There's great stuff there. But I mean, God, with the back catalog that Nintendo has on all of their systems alone, let alone Genesis, if they could get the TurboGrafx 16 back to the Switch, if they could get, there's been rumors that they were going to do, or there's been talk that they're going to add Game Boy Advance games to the Switch or Game Boy games in general. I would love all of that. I mean, they have a huge, I mean, you talk about Xbox Game Pass and all their back collection. I mean, that's awesome, but good Lord, could you imagine if Nintendo didn't sprinkle out like one game every month, if that? Um, if they just said, hey, here's a good majority of whatever we can license, whatever we can for availability. Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, hell, I mean, it could probably emulate GameCube okay. Well, yeah, it did because we could do Mario Galaxy. We had that on that collection, so yeah, that's fine. Um, Game Boy Advance. Good God, man! I mean, and then if they actually had a lot of games for all of those systems, you could charge like 30, $50 a year, or you could charge a pretty good price for that because I mean they have just so much content they could be working with and they just don't. That's the weird thing is like Nintendo has the hugest back catalog of games and they just don't do anything with them. It's really sad. So I mean, yeah, I hope there's a direct. I would love to play Zelda Wind Waker again. on the Switch OLED. Will it happen? I don't know. But guess what? I'm not going to get excited until it actually officially happens. That's where I'm standing on that. So yeah, there's a few events this month. And then there's just whatever else happens. You hear about a little indie game that you've never heard of, like, oh, that sounds cool. Let me try that. That might happen. Um, I do want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite series in recent years, hell, ever really. Um, Cobra Kai season 5 is coming out next Friday, and I'm stoked. I'm really looking forward to that because I remember when Cobra Kai season 1, I usually don't talk about movies and series and stuff. I kind of want to more on the channel, so if you want to hear more, if you want me to do more of a series on like some of my favorite movies or TV series or something, just chat about those a little bit, I can. But yeah, if you just let me know if you would be into that or not. But Cobra Kai, it started out as when it was called YouTube Red. It's called YouTube Premium now, but like a few years ago, YouTube Red, the ad-free YouTube service, that was one of their shows that they were really hyping that service with. And I'm like, I like Karate Kid back in the 80s. I watched the original. Didn't care for the second one as much. I didn't like the Japan one as much. I remember seeing Karate Kid 3 in theaters. That was one of the few movies my family actually went out to the theater for. I think I was in 6th grade at the time. Um, so yeah, I mean, I remember the Karate Kid movies, and they were fine. I liked them. And then they're like, "Oh, we're doing a modern day Karate Kid, and they're adults now, and there's new kids." And I'm like, you know how they're rebooting everything nowadays. They're rebooting, they're reimagining. Um, some well, some not. Um, Sorry, I had to get a drink. Um, but there's been a lot of, there's been several good remakes, and there's been several just awful ones. And I'm thinking, oh, this is just going to be a bad cash grab. This is just going to be a cheap, like, oh, we got new kids and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I have YouTube Premium, or I had YouTube Red, because you know, I haven't seen an ad on YouTube for like the last, what, 4 years now, and it's been wonderful. It's totally worth it. And not only yeah, I know there are ways to cheat around it with ad blockers and things, but it actually helps people, like if they have monetized their channels. If you have YouTube Red, you're supporting the channels through that way as well. But I don't have to see ads everywhere. So yeah, I love it. As much as I use YouTube for work, for game accessibility, and just for in general, yeah, it's worth it. But anyway, Cobra Kai, I started watching it one evening thinking, oh, I'll check out an episode. It'll probably be crap, and I'll just like, okay, that's whatever. I was sitting in my recliner. I started it. I don't think I moved. If I did, it wasn't very much. Um, I binged that entire first season, that first 10 episodes. It is so good. Um, Especially like, if you grew up in the 80s like I did. I mean, the soundtrack is really good. There's a lot of 80s music, especially like, 80s metal, hard rock, that kind of a thing. But just Johnny Lawrence as an adult, I love the way they play a lot of the characters. I mean, Johnny Lawrence and um, Daniel LaRusso, they kind of, the whole thing is they have this feud. Johnny's kind of this maintenance. He starts out as this maintenance guy. He's just down on his luck. Just everything is going horribly. Um, First episode, he gets fired, and just like everything is just going to crap for him. And Daniel, he is, he's doing well. He's now, he owns a car dealership, LaRusso Auto. And so, there's always commercials on, and he's using kind of his karate, him winning the tournament back in the day, like we're chopping prices, using the whole karate gimmick. Um, and Johnny just, he's just pissed about it because he'll see the billboards and then he'll turn on the TV and watch something and there's an ad on TV for for Daniel and whatever. But like, their feud and just I just love, like I said, Johnny is just hilarious. He wants everything to be badass, but he's so stuck in the 80s that he just doesn't know anything about like modern times and like like with the way you act or the internet in general. Like it's just funny. Like when he's first starting to teach this new kid, and like the first, like the second episode, he's like, you can take all your peanut allergies and this, that, and the other thing. You guys are a bunch of pussies, and you got to toughen up again. And like, I mean, it's really funny. And then, but like I said, the technology part I think is really funny because like he has his laptop and he's like, oh, it doesn't work. So he takes it to the pawn shop where he got it. Like, did you turn it on? Like, yeah. Or it doesn't work, and he didn't know how to like open the lid or whatever on it. And then he's trying to connect it to Wi-Fi, and he just doesn't understand any of that. He's like, "What's this? What's a Facebook?" And then he learns about Twitter, and it's always I love it because he's like, "Hash brown Cobra Kai, hash brown." It's just that's so great. It's just so dumb. I love when he just doesn't know how to. And when he learns the internet, he's looking up things like karate and like babes on hot babes and just weird karate stuff and conspiracies, and it's just hilarious. um but the kids themselves are like there's way too much. I could do a whole video on Cobra Kai easily. But like the kids themselves, you start out with Cobra Kai, and then Miyagi Do. Daniel ends up starting Miyagi Do because he thinks Cobra Kai is going to come back and be bad, which is what it was in the original the movies, and Johnny's trying to do it a little better, but then other people come back from the past and stuff kind of happens and gets worse. But like the kids are really really good in the series too. I mean, Miguel, the main person that Johnny works with, he's great. Um, and then you got Daniel's daughter, Samantha or Sam. Sometimes I love her, sometimes I hate her just because she's really nice, but then she does really stupid things and just gets caught up in being mean and whatever. And like Hawk is one of my other favorite characters. Um, he goes through, especially for the seasons so far, he's definitely gone through an arc. He's like back, he learned, he starts out kind of really just shy and whatever, becomes badass, then he becomes a bully, and then he finds out, oh, okay, we went too far. But his arc is really good. I mean, just all the kids, like it's not just about like one karate kid. It's just like everybody. There's just everyone gets tangled up in everybody else's stuff, and I don't know. Like I said, it's just really really good. Um, oh, what is his name? Stingray. I just get a kick out of him. He's just this dumb adult. He worked at like a hardware store, and he's helping Johnny out one time, and then he finds out about Cobra Kai, so he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna join." And he's just kind of this like I picture him as this like just kind of stoner bro who's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna cling on to my childhood and go to high school parties and like not never grow up or whatever." But he's funny. There's so many characters. There's so many plot lines. I mean, it's on Netflix now. all 4 seasons, and they are audio described. So if you need them or want them audio described, they are there. They're audio described. And season 5 is coming out next week. And yeah, after the way the 4th season ended, kind of curious to see what in God's name is going to happen in season 5 because yeah, some stuff happened toward the end of that season, the last episode or two of that season. So really looking forward to that. But I did want to plug that show because, like I said, Cobra Kai, I was not expecting it to be good at all. And it's really honestly one of my favorite one of my favorite series ever, like Breaking Bad or something like that. Like it's so good. Um, yeah, it goes a little over the top sometimes, but you know what? That's kind of great because it's sort of grounded in reality, but it goes so over the top that you kind of have to laugh sometimes. Like some of the things that happen, some of the big fights that happen. I'm like, yeah, that probably would never happen in real life. It wouldn't, but with as screwy as nowadays are, you never know. But yeah, I had to mention Cobra Kai. I'm very, very excited to watch season 5 next weekend. So yeah, next weekend, I'm not doing anything until I finish season 5 of Cobra Kai. That is kind of what's going on. Like I said, I've got a Steam Deck review I want to do. We got the Kawabunga collection I need to record a video for. We've got The Last of Us Part 1 coming out. We've got Metal Hellsinger. We've got who knows how many other games. I know I've got a backlog of other games that I want to try. There's videos I've already recorded that I want to release for you guys. There's been a few games that I've been kind of hooked on, excuse me, in the last couple of weeks that I do want to cover. So there's that. We have all the events, the Apple, Nintendo, um, Realms Deep, Tokyo Game Show is coming out. Supposedly, Konami's going to have some sort of big announcement for reviving one of their series, so who knows what that'll be. I have really mixed feelings on Konami right now because Konami is just really as great as they were in the 8 and 16-bit days. They just haven't been really doing anything with gaming much the last few years, and they've just really crapped on a lot of their developers. But on the other hand, they've released 2 great Castlevania collections. We've got a Contra collection, and they worked with Digital Eclipse to make this Cowabunga collection that is excellent. So it's not all bad. But with that, I will wrap it up here. I'm sure I missed something, but again, I know this is going to be a long video, but I will put chapter breaks in so you can kind of find whatever section you want. But yeah, as you can tell, September's gonna be a busy one, and finally we get football season again. So I'm looking forward to that. And I will say, just as a side for football, I recently heard that they're coming out with one of those one-up arcade cabinets for the NFL Blitz series. There's going to be like 3 different versions of NFL Blitz, and that's awesome. But I wish that that collection would come out digitally for consoles too, because I don't have room for an arcade cabinet, but I really loved NFL Blitz, especially the first one. The first one on the N64. Oh man, my friends and I played the hell out of that in college. Um, So I really, 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 really hope that they can also put those out on PC and consoles because I would buy that collection in a heartbeat if they would. Because I like Madden, I don't like simulation football. Give me fast arcade, make it fun. I know people are into simulation, but give me the arcade stuff any day of the week. So this time I promise we will wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. look, like I said, check out the playlist for stuff. Look out some of the recent reviews and videos I did. A lot of stuff to look forward to in September and even the next couple of months. Um, oh, one more thing. I forgot, and I have to mention it because it's so cool. I think I mentioned it possibly in a previous video, but um, we'll wrap up with this final thing. Um, the Kickstarter was successful for Reload Magazine. Uh, it was a Kickstarter for a digital and print magazine, depending if you want a digital or you know, paper. Went. I just forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, Reload Magazine. It literally just wrapped up its Kickstarter campaign. I'm hoping that they'll have other means to buy the digital edition if you want it later. A lot of Kickstarters will do that, but the reason I mention that is because you can still go to their Kickstarter page. They have a sample issue uh, of articles and reviews and previews and stuff. They have a sample issue that they were using to kind of show what the magazine would be like, and yours truly had a feature article in that sample issue of Reload Magazine. You can go to Kickstarter, look up Reload Magazine, and right on their page, there's a big old button, link button, whatever, in the middle of the page to download their sample issue. It's a PDF file, and I have a feature, and it is on the Toby accessibility mod for Doom. So again, my hope was not just to get coverage for the mod, but man, this is a retro first-person shooter themed magazine, and not only can I draw attention to the mod and its accessibility, but hopefully other fans of the genre, other game developers of these retro shooters will see the article, they'll read the article, maybe they'll check out the mod, and maybe, that will give them some sort of insight. Maybe that'll give them some motivation or inspiration to maybe think about how they could add or include accessibility into their games so that, I know a lot of people, a lot of blind players especially, would love to play real first person shooters. And I would love that to happen too. So as cool, like as excited as I am to see that, like I even seeing my article digitally was really cool. Even though I can't really read the standard print version, I had to back that level because I just having that article in actual paper in print form is just a cool thing that I have to have. So I backed it there. But yeah, it's really cool to have the article featured. But my true hope is I'm hoping that it does inspire and motivate developers of this type of game to start thinking about ways they can make their games more accessible. On that positive note, I swear we're going to wrap it up now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally cited, which I might actually do a stream or two this month, hopefully. We'll see. Illegallycited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.